Oh boy. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. Unfortunately, today's video is going to be a little bit more gloom because USWNT's Nationals team just got their ass kicked. In today's video, it will be just like my previous ones. I'll be discussing the USWNT's national team game versus Sweden in the first game of the 2021 Olympics for Group G. As always, I'll be discussing the formations, the gameplay, the players, the tactics, and most importantly, the downfall. However, this video will be a little bit different because I can't include video footage. Thing is I can try, but I don't want to go through all the trouble of editing this just for it to be taken down or just for it to say, psych, you can't upload it. As always, timestamps will be in the description down below, so let's get started. Alright, the lineup. We came out with our typical 4-3-3 formation with Alyssa Nair as a goalkeeper. In the back line we had Dalkemper, Sauerbrunn, Dunn, and O'Hara, which is our typical back line, so nothing shocking. In the midfield we had Sam Mewis, Rose Lavelle, and Lindsay Horan, which again, based off the injuries and the players we have, this is an expected midfield. And up top we had Tobin Heath, Alex Morgan, and Kristen Press, which, not gonna lie, I was a little surprised on because we bring in Megan Rapinoe and Carly to the Olympics as forwards, and Megan Rapinoe more specifically, and she doesn't start. I just think it's odd, you know? A player whose second game back from major injury is starting over a player who's been in the fold. Yikes. I think that's telling for sure, especially against a team like Sweden. If that doesn't put doubt in your mind, or that doesn't tell you how Vlatko views Megan Rapinoe, I don't know what will. And I was also surprised to see Tobin start just because, like I said, it's her, third game back from injury. And I just was expecting Pino to start before her based off of the previous lineups we've seen in the past few games. So in hindsight, this lineup did have its flaws, but I don't think that Vlatko could have predicted this just because this team has played in this formation before, with these players before, but to be honest, we haven't been tested before with this lineup. We played Sweden earlier this year, but again, we had a completely different starting lineup with different players, and so it was a huge test, and we did not show up to meet that. I'm going to discuss the first half now. We just didn't show up. It was the weirdest thing. I try not to be too critical for the first 10 minutes because it does take a minute to find your groove. But after that, I was like, when are we gonna actually start playing? When are we actually gonna start passing? When are we actually gonna start doing something? Because Sweden was just dominating us for the entire game, but especially the first 15 minutes. I mean, they had 5 corners in the first 15 minutes of the game, which is insane. I think the thing is we knew Sweden was going to come out and play us really hard. We knew they were going to high press. We knew that they wanted to keep majority of the possession, and that's okay. What they did basically is they took our game plan and just did it to us, and we weren't expecting it, even though, what else would you expect from Sweden? They're definitely not going to sit back, and they're going to attack, so it's why were they surprised? Come on, you knew that was going to happen. Yeah, Sweden played phenomenal, but I have never seen this team play so poor. I think our first downfall is we just didn't establish a rhythm at all. Every time we would get the ball back from Sweden, we would immediately lose it by trying to do too much, being sloppy, forcing a pass, and a lot of that can be attributed to Sweden's high press. We didn't have a moment to breathe the second we got the ball, which it's fine. We should have been prepared to know who to pass it to. I remember growing up in youth soccer, everybody would always tell me, know what you're going to do before you get the ball. And I feel like we did not do that at all. We would get the ball and then try to figure out who to pass it to. And it's you can't do that with Sweden. You have to know what you want to do with it immediately. And not only that, but you have to play quickly because there are moments you can take a few touches on the ball, but you have to give it up immediately because they're going to put the pressure on you. And we just weren't doing that. That combined with how dangerous Sweden is just led to our initial downfall. I think we could have come back, but we just never established a rhythm after the first goal. And we had our moments to score, but especially after that second, we were completely off. Obviously, I think one of the biggest things is we were incredibly sloppy with our possession. Crystal Dunn could not stop losing the ball in the most dangerous places. One of the things that I was taught when I was young by one of my coaches was, when in doubt, kick it out. And now I know it's not the best tactic, but come on. If you're under pressure and you're in your own defensive third and you're going to try to dribble it out, just kick it. Because at the end of the day, you're going to lose it either way. You might as well lose it in a place where it's less threatening than lose it right in front of the goal. The mistakes that she was making were astronomical, but you can't blame her for all of those mistakes because in her defense, nobody was helping. Kristen Press wasn't doing a good enough job tracking back. Sam Ewis wasn't doing a good enough job either to help provide support. And so I think with those players combined, Sweden was just eating us up. And 1v1, Dunn was doing okay with her recovering run, but what I've noticed with Crystal is, as a fan, you're watching the game and you can tell this Jakobsen is going to make a run in behind, and she just doesn't try hard enough to cut the pass off before it's been made. And once the pass has been made, then she's like, oh, I actually have to run now. And we'll see that later on in the second half for the third goal. I just felt more reactive instead of proactive, and it felt like we were just weathering the storm instead of trying to predict and be unpredictable. Becky playmaking out of the back was a huge issue as well, because I don't understand. This clearly had to have been pre-planned before the game, but we were only attacking down the left side of the field. We were only possessing down the left side of our field, and Becky would only play to Crystal Dunn every single time. Now, there's a handful of times she tried to play to Lindsay Horan, but she was literally being man-marked the entire time by Aslani, so she did not have the opportunity to get it, and even if she did, she would have had to play it right back to Becky. Becky would hold on to the ball way too long, wait for someone to get open, no one would get open, and then she would be forced to play it to Crystal Dunn, who wasn't ready, or to Lindsay Horan, who wasn't ready, or she would kick it, or, it just wasn't fast enough. But Becky got the ball, took a single touch and then passed it, maybe that quickness of play could have allowed Horan's half step away from her man to get it and then make a forward pass, but holding on to the ball way too long allowed Sweden to close the gaps, get closer to their mark, and keep us held in our own defensive half. Not only that, it is so predictable for Sweden, and it's so easy to defend that. If you know you're going to play down the left side of the field, just contain them. We didn't switch the field maybe twice, so just contain that one area, then we can't get out, and that's what we kept saying over and over. Our midfield, oh my god, it was an abomination. I have never seen Roosevelt and Sam Ewis play this bad. Now, Sam over the past few games hasn't been performing up to the standard I'm used to seeing, but I don't know what she's doing. It's like she looked lost, didn't check to the ball, didn't do anything to help. And it's like, Rose didn't play well either, but at least she was doing stuff offensively. But Sam, it was like we were a man down by how she was doing absolutely nothing. The way the midfield works, right? You have your holding midfielder, Horan. She wants to be on the ball the most in terms of directing play going forward. Not necessarily attacking, but just getting the momentum to go from the defense to the forwards. And that's the shift that we need. But she couldn't do that because she couldn't find space to operate. And so because Sweden was doing such a good job of shutting her down, that's when we needed help from Sam or from Rose to check back into that space to then receive the ball and essentially do the job that Horan is doing. Because if Sam is far up in the field, right, she's probably taking a holding midfielder and the other team's holding midfielder is probably marking her. If she checks back super far, the girl's probably not going to follow her because it'll draw her out of position. And so we never saw her or Rose check back at all to help get the ball. And then after we got scored on the first time, then suddenly Sam actually started checking back to the ball. And I'm like, Horan is getting swallowed up. You have to realize that and you have to help. And there are moments in the game where Tobin Heath and Kristen Press literally went into the middle of the field to try to compensate for the lack of work being done by our midfielders. They were like, well, we can't get the ball, so we're going to go get it ourselves. And then up top, Tobin Heath could not keep the ball to save her life. She gets in these ruts where she wants to do so much but just can't. And I think this was one of those games where it's like, we know what you can do, Tobin, but we don't need that right now. We just need you to keep the ball. And she couldn't do it. And Kristen Press, I thought she played actually okay, but she was not doing enough defensively. She had her moments in the offense. I think she had a better second half. But I think it's one of those things where when every single person on the field is playing like shit, there's not a single person to blame. In those moments when the game is getting out of control, you need someone on the field to just say, hey, we just need to keep it. We just need to connect 5 passes, and then let's see if we can connect 10 passes. And then once we get 10, let's see if we can connect a pass going forward. That's what you have to do to regain control of the game, but it's hard to do that when emotions are really high, when people are frustrated, when you've connected enough passes and Tobin gets it and she wants to go score and then she loses it immediately. That's the last thing you want to do. You just want to keep it. But not only that, you want to play quickly, and we were not doing that at all. Another thing I wanted to mention is in the first half was the shape of our press. I've seen this a few times under Vlatko and I have pointed it out. But the thing is we haven't played a team that has really questioned us in a long time. There's just been so many questionable tactics, which I'm going to discuss after this, that have worked out for us because no team has been good enough to actually challenge us. We just haven't been tested. And one of those tactics that I don't understand is the way that we're pressing. What he'll do is, if you've noticed, in the first half, when the ball's on the left side, the left defender from Sweden, let's say she's on the ball, we'll have Kristen Press, who's playing left mid, be literally in the middle of the field. But for what? To try to contain? Sure, you don't have to bring Kristen all the way over. You can slide Sam Mewis up, or you can slide Rose up into that space. So what would happen is Kristen would be so out of position that if we did not do the job containing, they would just switch the ball right to the right defender, who Kristen had left wide open. And so then she would have to bust her ass back to try to cover, but she a lot of times couldn't recover. And the consequences of pressing like this is why the left side of the field was so exploited from our point of view. Now, there were moments when Tobin would come over, yes, but it wasn't as extreme as how Kristen was. And like I said, I don't know if that was coached or if Tobin just wasn't listening or what, because it's just ridiculous, because then it gives Sweden acres of space where Kristen wasn't to then take a touch, go forward, and play to whoever you want making a run in. And it puts Crystal Dunn in a terrible position because she doesn't know if she needs to step or stay with her man, and then she's in a 2v1. Or if Haran steps, then the defender she was just marking can go wherever they want. And not only that, but the combination of Sweden's interchange up top created so many gaps in our defense. So why were we even doing that? There's no need to do it. Keep Kristen maybe 15 yards off her man, but hovering in that area to kind of patrol. And if they do decide to play it to Sweden's right back, she can press it, force it sideline, or just contain and force them to go back. There's no need to overstep as hard as we were. Now, the only way overstepping is going to work is if we're confident that they're going to lose it. And we can't assure or be sure that this is going to happen playing against Sweden. Now, playing against a team that is not very good under pressure, maybe, but definitely not against Sweden. So I have no idea why Vlatko was encouraging this. And even if he wasn't, he should have made that change very soon on and said, Kristen, don't stay this far in. You need to stay wider to cut off that space. But we just continued to do it. So it's like, yes, Alex Morgan had a chance. Kristen Press had a chance. Tobin had a few chances. She just waited too long. Rose Lavelle had a header. And the thing is if any one of those would have gone in, it would have changed the entire course of the game. But we just didn't score. And so it's unfortunate, but that's just how the game went. The goals. The first goal, Jakobsen got the ball out wide. And once Jakobsen got the ball, Crystal Dunn had been getting destroyed 1v1 by her all game. And she just didn't step tight enough. She didn't put enough pressure on her. You know she's going to go inline and try to cross it. Why are you giving her the time and space to get the cross off? It's a 1v1 at that point. It's your job to get close and tight, and she did not do that. And so you can sit here and blame Crystal. Dahlkemper did absolutely fucking nothing to try to get Blacksinius in any way off balance. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough position to be in to win a header 1v1 in the box like that, but you have to do something. You have to bump her. You have to challenge that. You have to get ahead on it. Alyssa Nair couldn't have done anything to save that. In the second half, we had a chance to start over and try to fix the damage. The fact that we were only down by 1 goal at halftime was a miracle, and I felt like we came out with better momentum. Obviously, we had some substitution changes. Alex Morgan came off for Carly Lloyd, and Julie Ertz came on for Sam Mewis, and I think Julie Ertz was a fantastic addition to this game. That's what we needed. Julie Ertz was going to boss the midfield. She was going to hurt people. She was going to go hard into challenges. That's what we've missed so much from Ertz. Like, Haran's great, yes, but she just does not fill the need that we have for Julie Ertz. I've mentioned this so many times on my channel. I hate zone defending. I hate it because when you get scored on, who do you blame? Who do you blame? The blame can go on so many different people. When you're man marking, at least the person you can blame is yourself. I didn't jump high enough. I didn't challenge the player hard enough. Fair enough. You can look in the mirror and say it was my fault and I'm going to do better, or you're not going to do better. Or we can put someone in who can do it. That's literally it. But when you're doing zone, it's up in the air. And that's what happened, is we're doing zone, they send a cross in, and I'm going to put a picture, so I don't think this will get copyrighted. But two of our players, Julie Ertz and Lindsay Horan, go up to contest the header. Neither of them win it, so you're taking two players out of their position to mark one Swedish player, and we don't even win the ball. So we're automatically at a numerical disadvantage. The Swedish player wins the header. That alone could have gone in. So you could blame Horan or you could blame Ertz for that one, but if you're man marking, you blame the person who didn't jump high enough. But when the confusion is between you and your teammate who is going to get it, the likelihood of you not getting it at all becomes much higher, because if you have two players who are a little hesitant, you're probably not going to go for it. If you assume they're going to go for it and you don't, they might not jump. Or you have two players who are overly confident that both go for it, who hit each other. It's like we do zone, but we don't mark the back post zone or the front post zone. What's the point of zone if you're just going to mark the 6-yard box? That's not even... it frustrates me so much, because like you saw in the World Cup in 2015, Megan Klingenberg being on the line saved a potential goal because she jumped and got a header on it. Call me old-fashioned, but I say everybody in the box gets a man. You can have a near post player and a far post player. That's it. And so the header ends up hitting off the post, which we were lucky that even happened. But nobody's marking the back post. Dahlkemper is the closest player who could have possibly been marking, but she's marking somebody else, which, like I mentioned earlier, the numerical disadvantage. If you shifted the line to the right, that would have evened out, but those two players went up for it, and then she taps it in. And it's so frustrating, because it's like, it could have been prevented. If someone was on the back post, they would have kicked it out. After that second goal, we were just kind of like, well, shit. We're losing 2-0. We have not been able to get momentum at all in this game. We had a few chances. Kristen Price had an open goal, and once she hit the post, I just sat there and I was like, isn't our game. And Pino had a chance to play it back, but chose to shoot it at the near post, of course. And then she had another chance, and Kristen Price had a header, Carly Lloyd had a header, and then the third goal that they scored, again, this one pisses me off so bad. But listen, Crystal Dunn, you know the girl's making a run. You either have to win that ball or you don't commit to it. There's no in between. You can't just go in halfway, because then you've brought yourself out of position. The space you've just left will be in behind for the girl to make her run. So if she was going to step there, which she did, she had to have won it, and she didn't. And her being that far out of position meant Becky was also out of position, because she couldn't slide over in time to try to intercept the pass. She just had to get enough pressure to prevent the girl from taking a shot. And so she did her job. I think Becky did the best she could. But Dahlkemper, I swear to God, she's involved in every single goal we get scored on, because she doesn't mark. It's like, does this girl even know how to play center back? Like, no. It's so frustrating. And it's like, I'll put a picture too. She's marking her, and then once the girl kicks it, she just runs like 5 yards and leaves the girl to have a free header. What are you doing? Does she not know what goal side is? Does she not know how to man mark? I think we should have seen Christy Muse on earlier. We should have seen Tierna Davidson on earlier. It's like he put the reinforcements in way too late, and then the tactics in terms of the forwards pressing way too far over, I think, is an awful decision, because it leaves the far side completely free. Unless you can bust your ass to get across, which most likely you can't, then that's the only way that'll work, and it clearly doesn't work. Not only that, but the zone marking on corners, it does not work either. Sure, it can work, but this team, it doesn't work for this team and the players we have. It's just the small things. It's the only playing out of the back through Crystal Dunn and Becky Sauerbrunn. It's Dahlkemper's long balls that don't ever connect to anybody. It's losing the ball over and over in the midfield. It's having literally no offensive plan other than to kick and hope. I feel like I've laid out all of my complaints the best that I can. And so at this point, there's no point in, beating the dead horse, because we know they played like shit. I wanted to now shift to the next game. How do we learn from this? How do we go forward? I said this before the game ended to my sister. Whoever we play next must be trembling. So we're playing New Zealand. New Zealand hasn't been training a lot together leading up to the Olympics. I think we can beat Australia, and I think we can beat New Zealand, and I think that should be enough to get us through. But at the end of the day, goal differential is going to be a huge thing. I think Australia can beat Sweden. We'll see. They just have to play their cards right. If I'm New Zealand, I'm scared, because there's one of two things that'll happen. The United States is going to come out angry, or they'll play us how Sweden played us. That's really it. If I'm New Zealand, the points I'm looking for to exploit are set pieces and Abby Dahlkemper. That's literally it. Set pieces and Dahlkemper. I think if you can take advantage of corners and set pieces, I think that's your best bet to get a goal. But if not, then I just don't see New Zealand getting enough into the match. The United States has to score a lot of goals, but the issue now, since we've lost this game so badly and this next game is a must win, it completely throws off the rotation and the planned substitution, so it definitely disrupts some things. But we will see. How does this team respond? And how they respond to this next game will determine how the rest of the tournament goes for them. If we come out strong, we come out hungry, we come out angry, I think we can redirect our energy in a better path and set ourselves up for better success in the long run in this tournament. This team, the mentality they have, I think this was just an obstacle. It was just a blip. Once we get past it, I think we could be unstoppable. Like I said, this can either send us into overdrive, this could be the reality check that we needed, or this could be the downfall of our tournament. Alright, that's all for me today. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure y'all's opinions will be pretty similar. You know, be respectful about your opinion. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!